Hey everyone, Dr. Ackerman here with Active Chiropractic Care, and today we're going to be going over the most important stretches for the lower back. The first stretch is the Cobra stretch, and the Cobra stretch is extremely important to perform to help promote extension in the lower back. This is extremely helpful for people who are sitting all day, hunched over forwards at a desk. So what you want to do is you want to get a mat, and you're going to be working on extension of the lower back. So you're going to come up, you're going to keep your shoulders back and down, you're going to breathe in as you come up, and you're going to breathe out as you go down. So breathe in, and breathe out. You want to perform this stretch 3 to 5 times, and you want to focus on the breathing and keeping your shoulders back and down, and make sure that your chin is tucked in and you're looking straight ahead. The next stretch is extended child's pose, and this is a great stretch to help loosen up and decompress the muscles of the lower back. So if you have really tight lower back muscles, this is the stretch that you want to be performing. And not only are you going to be able to perform it straight ahead to the front, I'm going to show you how to stretch to the right and to the left to loosen up the muscles on both sides. So here we go. You're going to start with your knees shoulder width apart. Your feet are going to be facing forward, flat on the mat, and you're going to bend over, reaching towards the front of the wall, keeping your back straight, and you want to stretch and hinge from your hips. And you're going to bring your hips down towards your heels until you feel a really good stretch in your lower back. Notice how I'm walking my hands up to get a further stretch as well. This is a really good way to get deeper into the stretch. And then once you feel the stretch, you want to take a deep breath in and then breathe out and sink further into the stretch. So as you breathe in, feel the stretch, and as you breathe out, try to sink your hips further back into your heels and get further into that stretch. So like I promised before, now we're going to show you how to stretch the sides. So to stretch your left side, you're going to reach your left arm over to your right and do the same stretch. Breathe in and breathe out. In order to stretch your right side, you're going to take your right hand and reach it over to your left hand. Take a deep breath in and breathe all the way out. You can also gently drop your head down to get a deeper stretch into your lower back, because the muscles of your back travel all the way up your spine to the base of your skull. So to get a deeper stretch into your lower back on the extended child's pose, you can drop your head slowly and work on getting a deeper stretch. So you want to perform that stretch for at least 20 seconds in the middle and 20 seconds on both sides. And most importantly, when you come out of a deep stretch like that, make sure you come out slowly. The last thing you want to do after stretching a muscle, like a rubber band, is to let it go and make those muscles snap back. You want to come out slowly and allow the muscles to go back naturally. So after you've done your Cobra and you've done your extended child's pose, the next really important stretch is the hip flexors. These muscles get so tight from sitting in a chair all day. So when you sit in a chair, these muscles get shortened all day. So in order to stretch the hip flexors, you want to get yourself into a kneeling position, and you're going to focus on tilting the pelvis neutral. And if you're not sure what that means, here's what the pelvis looks like from the side. Most people's pelvises are tilted forwards because they have tight hip flexors. So you want to bring the pelvis neutral by tucking the hips back. So that's how you want to start your hip flexor stretch. And then what you're going to do is, looking straight ahead, you're going to lunge forward, keeping that neutral pelvis and getting a really good stretch into that hip flexor. You should feel it stretching in the front of your thigh here. And if you want to get a deeper stretch, you can activate the gluteal muscle on the same side, which is going to give you a further stretch. And for all those people who are more advanced out home, You can even reach to the back of your foot, and now you can get a really good, more advanced hip flexor stretch. And that will even get into the rectus femoris muscle as well, which is also a hip flexor too. So those are the most important stretches to perform for your lower back. And if you have any knee issues or you have trouble with the hip flexor stretch on the ground, we're going to show you a modified way to do it standing. So same thing with your pelvis. You want to posteriorly tilt your pelvis, and then you're going to lunge forward, feeling that stretch into the hip flexor. And then again, you want to activate that glute on the same side to get further into the stretch for the hip flexor. You want to hold this for 15 to 20 seconds and then make sure that you come back slow. And lastly, don't forget to do all stretches equally on both sides. Whether you feel tight or not, you want to make sure that you're stretching both sides equally so that everything is balanced and you don't prevent any potential misalignments or subluxation in your spine. The next stretch, and one of the absolute most important stretches for the lower back, is the hamstring stretch. Now you're probably thinking, how does a hamstring muscle, my leg muscle, have anything to do with my lower back? Well, here you can see the lower back has a natural curve to it, which is essential for supporting the weight of the body and keeping the weight of the body off the nerves and the discs in the lower back. Now, when you have tight hamstrings are essentially like having a rubber band pulling from your legs into your lower back at all times. So you can just imagine how that's going to affect your ability to move and bend, especially when you're trying to bend forward. So if you have tight hamstrings, it's going to pull your pelvis apart, and it's going to prevent you from maintaining that healthy lordosis in your lower back. So notice what that did to our healthy spine. Now, the goal is, if you can stretch the hamstrings and create more length in your hamstrings, now you can hinge and you can avoid subluxating your lower back. Notice how that helps us maintain the healthy lordosis in the lower back. So we're going to show you how to stretch your hamstrings while preserving the healthy curve in your lower spine. So the first thing that you never want to do when you're stretching your hamstrings is the old gym class reach for your toes. And that's again because if your hamstrings are tight, it's going to cause you to lose the lordosis, that natural curve in your spine, and it's going to subluxate your spine, which is what we don't want. So the first thing we encourage all of our patients to do is to lay on their back and to use a stretching strap, a towel, a belt, anything you have to help you hold your leg while you stretch your leg up like so. You want to feel the muscle stretching in your hamstring, keeping your leg as straight as possible and keeping your foot 90 degrees perpendicular to the floor. So that's the first stretch you're going to do for your hamstrings. You can hold that for 20 seconds. If you want to get more advanced, you can use something to put your leg up on, and now keeping your back straight, you're going to hinge forward at the hip, and you can reach forward to feel that stretch into your hamstring further. This is a really good way to get a deeper stretch into your hamstring. And then lastly, we use this tool in the office called the runner stick, and this is a great way to get the fascia to release so you can further stretch into that hamstring, and it's a great way to get a deeper stretch into the muscle as well. So those are the ways that we stretch the hamstrings here in the office. And most importantly, remember, whatever you do, don't do the old gym class reach for your toes. Maintain that healthy curvature in your spine by doing it the way that we're showing you here. After you stretch your hamstrings, the second most important stretch for your lower back is your piriformis muscle. The piriformis muscle, also known as a hip rotator muscle, is extremely important because if you have tight piriformis, it's going to limit your hip mobility. And again, if your hips are not moving properly, then anything you do is going to cause more stress and strain on your spine. So by having healthier and more mobile hips, you're going to allow your spine to move without causing stress and subluxation into your lower back. So the way that we show our patients how to stretch your piriformis are 3 different ways, going from easiest to most advanced. So the easiest way to stretch your piriformis is laying on your back, and you're going to make a figure 4, like so. You're going to thread the needle, put your hand through your knee, you're going to cross your fingers, and you're going to lift both legs up, and you're going to pull this knee towards your opposite shoulder. If you're doing it right, you're going to feel the stretch right here in your hip and piriformis. Next is a seated version. You want to make sure you're sitting up nice and tall. If you're going to stretch the left piriformis, you're going to cross over the ankle on the knee, and you're going to interlace your fingers, and again, pull that knee up and over towards your opposite shoulder. What you don't want to do is rotate your upper middle back. You want to make sure that you're keeping your shoulders looking forwards as you pull that knee towards your opposite shoulder, like so. And lastly, my favorite, the most advanced stretch, is a standing stretch. You can also do this on the floor, on a yoga mat. And what you want to do again is keep your body upright and really stretch into that piriformis in the hip. You want to hold each stretch for 20 seconds, and you want to breathe into it, and on the exhale is when you stretch further into it. So this is a very important stretch. I recommend you do both of these stretches 2 to 3 times a day. This will guaranteed loosen up the tension in your lower back and prevent you from getting subluxated or misalignments in your spine that will lead to lower back pain and even symptoms like disc herniations and disc bulges. One of the tools that we use here in the office to help release some of the tension in the piriformis and the hamstrings for our patients is a lacrosse ball. So what you can do first for the hamstring is an active release or a dynamic release where you start with a lacrosse ball higher up in your hamstring, and as you work on extending and flexing the leg, and then work it down your leg, doing about 5 flexion and extension each time for the hamstring. So what this does is it actively releases any knots and any scar tissue in the hamstring to help loosen up the hamstring muscles. So that is an active release for the hamstring muscle using a lacrosse ball. The next thing you can do is a trigger point release for the piriformis. So you're going to put the lacrosse ball under your hip, and then you're going to get into that piriformis stretch, and you're going to work your body around the lacrosse ball, trying to find any areas of tension or muscle spasm. And then once you find that area, you're going to pull the knee towards your opposite shoulder to get a deeper stretch using the lacrosse ball to release the piriformis muscle. So these are 2 great ways that we use the lacrosse ball for the lower body to release tension in the hamstring and in the piriformis. Another tool that we use is the foam roller. And the foam roller can be great for the piriformis as well. So if the lacrosse ball was too much for your hips, you might want to try using the piriformis on the foam roller. So what you're going to do is you're going to be sitting on the foam roller, and you're going to shift your weight onto the side that you're going to be releasing. So in this case, I'm going to be releasing the left side. So I'm going to shift my weight onto the left side. Notice I have my left hand down here. I'm going to use my right hand to gently pull my left ankle over my right knee. So this is the setup that you want to be in. Always keeping your upper middle back straight, looking straight ahead, and we're going to slowly roll forwards and backwards. Now I'm keeping all the weight into my right foot so that it doesn't slip and I don't go flying backwards. And then once I find a trigger point, I'm going to again pull the knee towards my opposite shoulder and work on releasing that muscle as well. So this is a great way to use the foam roller to release those tight piriformis and hip muscles. So hopefully this helps you. And if you have any questions, you can contact us here at the office, or you can come in. We'd love to show you in person. So most importantly, remember to stay healthy and stay active.